You'd had a back and forth on the Twitters with one Vivek Ramaswamy, who currently is boasting about getting, who was the only African-American anchor in this business before I joined him in prime at CNN, Don Lemon. He's boasting about getting him fired. He thinks that is somehow going to be a big, flag for his run for president. Your thoughts on him? Because you've been back and forth with him online.
You know, when he first started, I thought, okay, here's an Indian American, funny name. We disagree. Hopefully he makes a good showing or does something well. And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, Joy. My phone blew up with other Indian Americans saying, make it clear he doesn't speak for us. Yep. I mean, to sit there lecturing a black man about black history was totally uncalled for. And then he didn't have all his historical facts. I mean, the Indian American community in this country holds a huge debt to the African American community. If it weren't for the Civil Rights Movement, the 1965 Immigration Reform Act wouldn't have passed. My parents wouldn't have come to America. Before that, basically, immigrants from Asia and Africa were not allowed to come. It was highly discriminatory.
It's really ironic because neither his nor my parents could have come here under the rules before the Civil Rights Act, before that 65 Civil Rights Bill. But he's acting as if the NRA somehow saved African Americans in the Civil War. The NRA wasn't even formed until 1871. Well, he doesn't know anything about African American history. He clearly doesn't know the reasons for the Civil War because he thinks the purpose of the Civil War was to get black people the right to bear arms.
Yes, welcome back. Joy Reid is going viral. I recently came across a video where Vivek totally destroyed her according to a reply on Twitter. Like me, Joy Reid is a kid of immigrant from a former European colony who went to Harvard. Unlike me, she benefited from affirmative action because she counted as black and, in her own words, would not have gotten in without it. She complains that her peers look at her differently because of it. That is surely true. I just draw a different conclusion. There is no better way to foster racial condensation than to disadvantage others based on their skin color. Time to achieve a colorblind meritocracy once and for all. Joy Reid talks about me on air but hasn't yet had me for a debate. From one alum to another, the others stand. Yes, this guy has been going viral recently, and he is very intelligent enough to understand what is happening. It has been a trend, with liberals melting down, partaking to these affirmative actions. I did a video about this, but on this clip, it is different. This is a different segment where Joy Reid tried to call him out. I will play it so you can see exactly what is happening. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please endeavor to do that. And if possible, why not share this clip?
That black people could not be citizens before the Civil War because that would allow them to own guns. After the Civil War, the first anti-gun laws, gun control laws that were passed in this country were actually passed to stop black people from owning guns. These are some of the facts that I educated Don Lemon on set in a heated exchange that we had shortly before his firing. Joy Reid, an MSNBC host, has Ro Khanna, a Democratic politician who happens to be an Indian American, as a stand-in for the Indian American view, criticizing me for supposedly stating falsehoods. Actually, everything I stated is factually true based on U.S. history, but criticizing at length my supposed falsehoods, and then has Ro Khanna effectively licking her feet, which is exactly what she wanted on air, talking about how Indian Americans owe black Americans a debt of gratitude, about my views on this post-Civil War history, who's talking about me on air extensively to another Indian American second-rate stand-in, but won't talk to me directly, so I made an offer. I said, if you want to have a debate about this, if you think that your recounting of the post-Civil War history is any different than mine, let's have that debate in the open. What do we get? Silence. This is what the modern left does, and Joy Reid embodies it. Very well, actually. Cower in fear and hide. Talk a big game when you're talking to your own community, when you're talking to the people who agree with you, but cower in fear when it comes to actually confronting the other side in open debate.
Yes, for those who have been following this channel for some time, you realize I reacted to a video about this same guy, Vivek, challenging Don Lemon on things Don Lemon sees like he's not supposed to educate him on issues relating to black people. Now, he is stating it clearly here that Joy Reid should call him up for a debate so they can talk to look into some of these things. Because when they sit call on their people to lick their feet, they say any kind of thing. You should be able to back up your points on a real debate. I believe that is the best way to go about it. Now I came across a tweet from Simon Atiba. Your reactions. A legal activist group has just filed a complaint demanding that the federal government put an end to Harvard University's special admission treatment for students with alumni need parents or family members who have made donations. This practice has been compared to affirmative actions for the rich. It is also known as legacy admissions. It has mainly favor wealthy or well-connected white students. It is not based on any merit or grade, but mainly because your parent or grandparent attended the school, you qualify above others. The complaint argues that this policy discriminates against black, Hispanic, and Asian applicants in favor of less qualified white candidates who have connections to the university. The complaint comes in the wake of the Supreme Court recent ruling that severely limit race-conscious admissions. The group content that rewarding children based on privilege and advantage inherited from previous generations, such as family name and word, should not influence the college admissions process as they are not measures of merit. That is something we have been singing for some time. They do this, you know, favoring people like Joy Reid, and when you want to face her off on issues like this, it becomes a real big issue.
Well, let me just be clear. I got into Harvard only because of affirmative action. I went to a school no one had ever heard of in Denver, Colorado, in a small suburb. I didn't go to Exeter or Andover.
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
have college test prep. I just happened to be really nerdy and smart and have really good grades and good SAT scores.
Right.
But someone came to Denver, Colorado to look for me. A Harvard
Right.
recruiter flew to Denver, and I met up with her at the Village Inn restaurant and did a pre-interview to get to pull me into Harvard. I was pulled in, and the schools like Harvard and Yale that I got into affirmatively.
Yes.
And it was literally not saying we're going to take an unqualified person and put them
Right.
in Harvard.
Yes.
We're going to take a very qualified person who we would never know existed and put them in Harvard. That's how I got there. That's how Ketanji got there. That's how Justice Jackson, I should say. Justice Jackson got there. It's how
courts, if they were to proceed without any check on their power, without any balance on their power, then we will start to see an undemocratic and frankly dangerous authoritarian expansion of power in the Supreme Court, which